Hey everyone and welcome. Today we're digging deep into the roots of modern Japan. We're going to trace its unique social fabric all the way back, over 1,500 years, to an ancient design that, believe it or not, still shapes the country today. We're talking about the Yamato Blueprint.
So you've probably heard about the incredible sense of group identity in Japan, right? That legendary corporate loyalty, the way harmony often comes before the individual. But have you ever stopped to ask where that really comes from? Well, the answer goes way, way deeper than you might imagine.
All right, here's the game plan for today. We're going to start with the puzzle of modern Japan, then jump back in time to see how the Yamato kingdom was forged. We'll unpack their unique system for running things, look at the other darker side of their growth, and then we'll connect that ancient blueprint right back to the Japan we know today.
Okay, let's get into it. Section 1. Echoes of Ancient Japan. Before we go back, let's set the stage with what we're trying to figure out in the present day.
Yeah, this idea of putting the group first is a huge theme in Japanese history. But here's the thing, it didn't start with samurai or shoguns. Nope. The real foundation, the DNA of this idea, was laid when the very first centralized Japanese state was being built. Back then, working together wasn't just a nice idea, it was the only way to survive.
And that takes us right to Section 2. Let's head back to ancient Japan, a time of fierce, competing clans, and watch how one single power rose up to shape an entire nation.
You know, the whole story really gets going with a change in food. Around 400 BCE, wet rice farming arrived and it changed everything. See, you can't build and run rice paddies by yourself. It takes a huge coordinated effort. So naturally, bigger communities formed, social classes started to appear, and powerful leaders took charge. And out of all this, one clan in the Naro Basin started to pull ahead of the pack.
Now, the basic building block of this whole society was something called the uji. You can think of them as these big, powerful, family-based clans. But they were more than just family. They were the political and economic units of the day. Each one was run by a chieftain who controlled everything: the land, the people, the wealth. The whole country was basically a patchwork of these competing uji.
So how did one of these clans, the Yamato, end up on top? Well, it was a classic combination of brains and brawn. They fought wars, sure, but they also made really smart alliances. And, this is key, they got control over the flow of new, advanced technologies coming in from mainland Asia, from places like China and Korea. That gave them a serious leg up on everyone else.
The Yamato ruler, who'd eventually become the emperor, locked down their power in some really clever ways. First, and this is a big one, they claimed they were descended directly from the sun goddess Amaterasu. That basically made their rule a divine right. It gave them the religious juice to act for all the clans. Then, on the political side, they gave themselves the ultimate power to approve or fire other clan leaders and to be the final judge when clans fought. It was a brilliant mix of holy and political authority.
And this brings us to Section 3, which is really the heart of the Yamato's genius. The incredible system they built, not just to conquer people, but to actually govern them.
They came up with this system called the Uji-Kabane system. Now, instead of just crushing all the other clans, the Yamato did something way smarter. They absorbed them into a strict hierarchy. They handed out these hereditary titles called kabane to the other clan chiefs. And these titles weren't just for show. They spelled out a clan's exact rank and its specific job inside the new government, all serving the Yamato court.
This pyramid here breaks it down beautifully. Way up at the top, you've got the divine emperor. Right below are the uji chieftains, now the new elite, with their power coming from those titles given by the court. Underneath them, you have this really interesting group called the Bei, and then you have everybody else. It was a system with a place for everyone, and everyone was kept in their place.
So let's zoom in on that term, beak. These were basically hereditary groups of skilled workers. Think potters, scribes, weavers, all the specialists you need to run a state. They were like ancient state-controlled companies, organized by their job instead of by blood, and they worked for the court and the top clans. It was a brilliant way to organize and control all the essential skills. And this gets to a crucial point. The Yamato leaders were incredibly sharp. They looked at the advanced civilization in China and didn't see a threat, they saw a toolbox. They didn't just copy and paste Chinese culture, they did something much smarter, what historians call hybridization. They carefully picked, chose, and adapted Chinese ideas to fit their own native traditions. And this slide just lays it out perfectly. Look at that blend. They kept their own core Uji clan system, but slapped a Chinese-style bureaucracy on top of it.
They held on to their belief in a divine emperor, but used imported Confucian ideas to strengthen it. They kept their own Shinto beliefs, but adopted a written language and a calendar from the mainland. Truly the best of both worlds.
Confucianism, especially, was a total game changer for them. It was like the perfect software to run on their new social hardware. Why? Because it emphasizes social harmony, a strict hierarchy, and the importance of duty, obedience, and loyalty to your boss. For rulers like Regent Shotoku, this was the perfect toolkit for stabilizing the new society and cementing their power.
But, the story of clever state building and smart governance, it's not the whole picture. The creation of a unified nation is almost never a peaceful process.
Because for all of its strategic brilliance, this process of building a single central state had a massive and lasting impact on the other peoples who were already living on the islands.
See, while the Yamato brought a lot of clans into the fold with titles and alliances, their expansion into the frontier lands was a completely different story. In the east and north of Japan's main island, there were various tribes that the Yamato just lumped together and called the Emishi. And for them, Yamato expansion wasn't about alliances. It meant war, conquest, and being forced under Yamato rule.
And to really understand who these people were, we have to talk about the Ainu. The Ainu are recognized today as an indigenous people of Japan. And it's important to know, they lived in the northern parts of the islands long before the Yamato ever rose to power. So these Emishi are now widely considered to be the direct ancestors of the Ainu people. They had a totally different culture. They were mostly hunter-gatherers, which clashed with the farming society of the Yamato. So for the Emishi, the centuries-long story of Yamato unification was a story of being slowly conquered, assimilated, or pushed further and further north, eventually right off the main island.
And that brings us right back to where we started. So let's connect all of these pieces, the social structures, the borrowed ideas, the history of expansion, back to our original question about modern Japan.
This right here, this is the payoff. Look at the direct lines you can draw. That intense group identity of the ancient Uji clan, you can see its echo in the deep corporate loyalty and teamwork today. The B, those specialized work groups, that's like a precursor to the importance of dedicated, skilled teams. The strict social ladder or the Uji Kabane system, you can see a reflection of that in the modern respect for seniority and authority. And that imported Confucian value of loyalty, it helped lay the foundation for ideas like lifetime employment. The blueprint is right there.
The Yamato created a social model that was just incredibly durable, so durable that we can still feel its echoes over a millennium and a half later. And it kind of makes you wonder, doesn't it? What ancient blueprints, what invisible systems of hierarchy and group loyalty are still quietly shaping our own lives right now, wherever we are. Thanks for joining.